Welcome to the Town of Darien Sewer Commission public hearing scheduled for right now, Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. in room 206 at Town Hall. We will call the hearing to order at 4:30 p.m. or thereabouts. The first item on the agenda is
you want to open the public hearing?
yeah, I'm going to do, well, I think, oh yeah, I guess I have to do that by a vote, don't I?
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe you do.
Okay, can I have a motion to go into the public hearing?
Make a motion, we go into
I'll
public hearing.
second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, we are now in the public hearing. I assume that was a yes, Bob?
Yes.
All right, so the public hearing is related to sewer user fees, the rate, the minimum rate, connection fees, and peer review costs. And I will read into the record the legal notice for the public hearing that was published in the Darien Times, correct? I got a confirmation? Yes, okay. So here it is. Notice of public hearing on proposed amendments to sanitary sewer regulations. The Town of Darien Sewer Commission will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. in room 206 at Darien Town Hall for the purpose of affording property owners and residents within the Town of Darien an opportunity to be heard concerning proposed amendments to the Darien Town Code of Ordinance, Appendix C, Administrative Regulations. Public participation is available in person or via email at dariensc@darienct.gov by 4 p.m. on September 5th, 2023, or in person. Sewer user fees, Article 11, Sanitary Sewer Regulations, Section 1000-6. Proposed subsection amendments in relevant part are: 1. Subsection 6-2.1, effective October 1, 2023. The standard charge shall be a rate of up to $7.09 per 100 cubic feet of water. 6-3.1, effective October 1, 2023, the minimum service charge shall be up to $275.51 per annum. Item number 2 for discussion is Section 1000-3A, sewer connection fees and supplemental charges. Proposed residential charges of $750 per bedroom for connection to sanitary sewer system. And item number 3 for discussion is addition of peer review costs associated with new developments of a certain size. All members of the public are invited to participate and will be given an opportunity to be heard regarding the proposed changes. By order of the Darien Sewer Commission, signed Craig J. Flaherty, PE Chairman. There it is again. Okay. So the point of the public hearing is to give any members of the public an opportunity to comment on the potential action. And if you watched our last meeting, you know on item number 1, which is the sewer user fee rate, that we were presented with a number of different options for choosing a rate that best reflected our budget and our goals. And we chose to advertise up to $7.09. Not that necessarily will be our decision, because we first need to take into account public comment before we deliberate on the rate change. And that would similarly get calculated into the minimum charge as well. So I'm going to, we have one member of the public here. Is it your intention to speak at some point, sir?
It is.
Okay, would you prefer to speak to all of them or one at a time?
Well, when I get up, I would go through all of that,
Okay.
which I have.
So I'm gonna kind of introduce all of them. And then the second item that we've been discussing for some number of months, we finally introduced sewer connection fees into our regulations last year, I believe. And as time passed, we recognized kind of a disparity between the connection fee requirements for residential versus commercial and mixed use. And so we're proposing to adjust the residential side of that equation, as indicated in the public notice, to up to $750 per bedroom, where I think it rests now is $500 per 1 or 2 bedroom apartment and $1,000 per single family
That would be
residence.
per additional bedroom, right?
Per additional bedroom, yeah.
Net.
Yeah, that's the way I
Yeah,
interpret
that's how I understood it
100%. And then item number 3 is also an item that we've been discussing for many months and came up recently on an application that we needed to have an outside consultant peer review. And because our regulations were not clear, the commission voted, albeit by a close vote, to cover the cost of the peer review charges. And the intent here on number 3 is to just make it clear heretofore to any applicant where we feel the need to have an outside peer review done, that the cost for that outside peer review is to be borne by the applicant. And that would apply to users that propose to increase the flow on their properties by 3,750 gallons per day.
Or areas of concern.
Or are otherwise in areas of concern. So it doesn't affect small
Everyone.
users or additions or that sort of thing, but it would affect
And
developments.
it's really just to mirror the other regulatory boards that have that ability to
Yes.
back charge for
Correct.
peer review.
Correct. So those are the 3 items with a little more background and color that we have invited the public to be heard on. With that, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on the changes?
I would.
I assume we have no emails it's in the packet.
Don't know where that-
Thank you, sir.
We've got to generate ratings.
Yeah, we try to keep it lively.
Good
Yes, sir.
afternoon.
Name and address.
Name is Rolf Oben, address is 9 Archer Lane, just around the corner here in Darien. First, I'd like to commend and congratulate the commission on all the work that was accomplished over the past year, particularly the advancement of the Arcadis project list. So now we're moving on to phase 2, which is great, and I'm looking forward to seeing what results come from that. So carry on. With regards to the issues on tonight's open public hearing, with regards to the rate increase, I believe that's about a 3% increase in percentage
Up-
basis.
It was up
Up
to,
to.
that's our
Up,
maximum.
excuse me, up to.
I'm not.
We're gonna
Clarifying.
we're gonna haggle later.
Okay, very
This is
good.
for my benefit.
In these inflationary times, that's actually a pretty good number. Historically, I think that's maybe a little bit higher, but not by much.
All
Sir?
credit going to these gentlemen and their support staff.
Yeah.
All I can say is, in these inflationary times, every little bit means something, particularly for people who are retired on fixed income, yours truly. So I just ask you to bear that in mind, although I know you want to be responsible to make sure that this commission is funded appropriately for contingencies as well as regular maintenance costs, et cetera, et cetera. Speaking of which, I am also particularly interested in the pump station down for Stony Brook and the protection for it. I understand that's a work in progress. I would encourage everyone to move forward post haste, because Hurricane Idalia certainly got my attention, and if that were up here, I can't even imagine how that would go for Darien. So that's my only comment on the rate change. I mean, the minimum certainly makes sense. The connection fees, I think my question was already answered as you were introducing this, that is for any additional bedroom. So if I may just talk through a scenario. Contractor comes in, he says, I'm tearing down this 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. Year later comes back and says, okay, I'm now want to reconnect to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. You're going to tell him that it's $750 for the 2 added bedrooms.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
of the
Okay.
additional.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for the clarification. And with regards to the peer review course, yeah, I can see the need certainly to have that. And yeah, I'm familiar with some of the history behind this, so I certainly understand how you would want to, when necessary, call for those peer reviews. And yeah, I definitely agree that assuming it's a justifiable reason, I think that certainly should be borne by the applicant, not by the town. And I'm not going to go back through the history of all that brought us to where we are here today, but I think that would have been appropriate in that situation and certainly would be appropriate in the future as well. So having said that, I also like to congratulate Ed and Darren and their support staff for all the work that's been accomplished. And with that, I have nothing more to add except carry on.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you taking the time. Well, I don't see any additional members of the public wishing to introduce any additional information, so I guess I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have first and second. Any further discussion on the motion? No? All those in favor? All right, the public hearing is now closed. So that will take us to our regular meeting, which we will call to order at 4:42 p.m. or thereabouts. And the first item on the agenda is approving.
Wait a minute.
Is-
We have a
is
hand
whatever
up in the audience.
Superintendent tells us it is.
If you're gonna go to the
Sorry.
restroom, you don't need to
Just-
raise your hand.
Just want to point out, and I know there's a lot of stuff on the agenda for tonight. I want to let you folks know there is a Board of Selectmen meeting at 7 o'clock tonight.
Oh,
Just
oh,
I wanted to
yeah,
point that out.
before
I
that.
hope we're not here, but
I got
last time I got a little
postponed at
confused as we
6:30.
got close and panicked for no reason on
Important
it.
things.
So,
Yeah.
just
Thank you
wanted
for
just to let
letting
you
us know our time constraint, and I am very hopeful that we will not need it, but now we know.
know. Okay.
All
Do
right.
we have to leave for them?
You do not have to go anywhere, Bob.
I'm just asking if we have to leave for them. I'm somewhat serious. I mean,
What,
you're saying that they circumvent us, or
No,
they,
they have the room scheduled for 7 o'clock, and out of an abundance of care and caution, I want to just let you folks know that we have 2.5 hours to get our business on. We should be able to do that. I think that's fine, but just wanted to put that out there and,
I think if we needed, to solve some major surgery, we could, probably
Let's
go over.
just set the speed limit a
That's,
little higher.
Yeah. It's like a podcast, 1.5x, okay. The minutes from August 8th have been presented to us. 2-pager. I certainly thought we'd talk more than that, but.
Penny does an excellent job.
Yeah,
She just,
concise minutes are good.
discussion followed kind of carries
Yeah.
a lot of weight.
It does, I like it, I appreciate it.
Well, given that they're so short, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any
Yeah,
grave
I
error.
didn't see any of that.
All those in favor? All right, the minutes are approved. All right, now let's get to the meat of the matter. The 2 user fees, the rate per 100 cubic feet of water, and therefore the calculation of minimum service charge, which there follows.
I have
Yes,
to. Hey, Craig?
sir.
I would like to do something I don't normally do, which is ask that we take a look at something out of order.
Okay.
Before you jump into that, and I do
Okay.
apologize.
That's okay.
Um,
I should look up more frequently. Raise your hand a lot.
Slow it
Debating
down.
with Arnold, I'm sorry, Aaron all day on this.
Just don't give it to
This
Bob.
I can't, you won't take it. I did not have this ready for last Thursday when the stuff went out.
Okay,
So you didn't have all the information,
Oh.
I still don't, that's part of the problem.
okay,
But
this
this
is
is very
related.
important to your decision-making with regards to the rates. So I don't want to wait till item number 7, or 7, I believe. I think you should have at least a clue of what my plans are.
Okay, well, this is item number 7. Okay, so we're going to take the agenda out of order and discuss item number 7 first.
If you could, please.
Yes,
So
we are now so doing.
What I've given you is our original bond request at the top, our past expenditures pretty much to date. As you see, next bold section for subtotal, that's the balance we had left.
Okay.
Our current and future expenditures. As you see, I broke out the construction The CCTV work that Arcadis does for us and analyzing the work so that we don't pay twice for it. A Phase 3 construction, which you've asked us to move on. Again, next year's CCTV work. And then the Phase 2 of the SSES, another section of town we're going to do. So I grouped them all together. And as you see, there's a subtotal balance of almost 2.8 million. Now, this is the part that could get a little confusing. This is the part I had to work on. I can't just take credit for the grant, the Clean Water Fund grant money. I actually have to go back to the RTM and reappropriate it, basically. I have to ask for an amendment to the bonding. I do have some money still to collect from the Clean Water Fund grant of $49,000. And this is the interesting part. I do have a request in to use and get approval for $600,000 of ARPA funds to be put towards this current project, which is big for us.
And who determines how that gets allocated?
Right now, it's in Kate's hands, and
Okay, cool.
it has to go to the committee first, I believe.
ARPA subcommittee,
And
and then it goes up to the
Board of
BOS.
Selectmen, Board of Finance
Yeah.
for transfer. So what I've given you at the bottom is 2 million of extra bonding I'm needed, or 2.6 if we don't use the ARPA funds. And at the bottom, total, as of FY '25 or July of next year, we'll have some type of total funding of 4.3 million or 4.9 if we don't get the ARPA.
And that's all the way through Phase 3.
And starting the SSCS Phase 2 part also.
Just the design on, oh, no. You're saying the construction costs of Phase 3 are in this too?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So get us through the Phase 1 SSCS and their recommendation for construction.
Oh, Phase 1 SSES with its 3 parts. Yeah, okay.
Yep, so all the construction phases are done, and then I started and kicked off the Phase 2 of the SSCS, another section of town, another sewer shed area.
And similarly, that, say, 700,000 would be eligible for some CWF
That's correct. That's correct.
reimbursement.
And as I quickly put this together, I should have probably put that number in there too.
Yeah.
55% of.
If we get, assuming we get or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another 375,000.
Well, if you're going to make an edit to this and you have to show it to other people, correct the spelling of bonding on the third to last line there.
There's a couple of things, if you're going to share it, I'll be happy to send you the nits.
Yeah, why don't you hand them to
They
them?
come, they bounce at me from the page.
Well, I do apologize for that.
No.
I wanted to make sure you had this, and all I had it on was a piece of white composition paper, so I
Yes.
wanted it better presented.
So,
Understood.
the
I
next
understand.
question was, what does this cost yearly in
Well,
bond interest?
that's a really good question, because the current bonding is going to cost us in the range of about $75,000 to $85,000
I thought I
a
saw
year.
90 on there before. but-
It was, but what I have right now, the 90 was the
Is if we borrowed the full two?
correct,
Okay.
right out of the gate.
So this would be double that?
This is what I wanted to show you.
Is the rate going
It's
up?
this, now it's going to be double.
But is it the same rate, or does the rate go up with the second bond?
Our bonding rates stay pretty steady.
Wow, okay, cool.
So it would be, let's imagine we spend all this money this year, which we are. And so next year, we'd start, or the interest rates kick in the next fiscal year, right? That's how they buy them, or sell them.
Maybe a little bit over my head, but I'll.
It's
I
out
think
in the
it's
future.
out.
We have the
It is
answer.
complicated.
It's
though.
out in the
Yeah,
future,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you don't have to pay immediately, you get like a
No,
little bit of a
you
grace.
start paying as soon as you start to spend it. Just because they
construction.
allocate
That's not
it
what
for you and you have a bonding resolution, until you start borrowing the money to spend it,
Like a construction loan?
yeah, you haven't paid any interest on it.
Yeah, I thought it's even different than that, like, there's actually a date certain that says,
That fixes the rate?
or like a year after that, you get some time. Let's just say, so let's say it's 80 next year.
So it lags?
So then, let's just add 80 each year if we do things that quickly as we move along. So it would be $80,000 worth of interest payments a year from now, $160,000 in interest payments 2 years from now, $240,000 in interest payments 3 years from now, roughly. That seemed like a reasonable.
It's a reasonable schedule.
Yeah.
The best we can do right now, throwing it
Yeah,
out.
and it could, if anything, it's likely to lag that, I think,
Yes.
versus be faster than that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I hopefully that gives you a better insight to what our planned spending is just for the I&I study work that we're doing.
Yeah, thank you for interrupting and giving us that information.
Sorry about my spelling. I will.
Well, no, we
do
just want
better.
to,
No, that-
you don't apologize, we just want to help you. We want to make you look smart when you go before the next set of folks.
For the next time.
But so sewer rehab is gonna be bonded. Waterproofing, as in, what we wanna do, we wanna do to, Stony Brook and Nearwater? Is that gonna be bonded, or do we need to take that out of our contingency fund?
That is a really good question, Bob, and I just actually set up a meeting for tomorrow to speak with a consultant that the Westcog towns, I don't know if you know, Westcog is the group of 18 local towns and cities that help us get funding for different things. Well, one of them is flood mitigation. So I submitted Stony Brook and Nearwater, and we're going to talk tomorrow about what he can help us with and what grants are out there, and help us possibly write those grants and get some participation in doing some flood proofing. And as much as I'd like to do just enough to keep it out of the water, I in meeting with Craig a couple years ago, we talked about raising and elevating certain things, whether it be the components inside the building itself, whatever it may be.
Generator,
The generator,
the transformer.
purchasing a new generator, things like that, moving the transformers,
Yeah.
and so on. So I'm with you. I don't have the answer, but if we don't get a grant for it, then obviously we'll have to bond work like that.
Okay.
But I'm sure- but I'm hoping that's
So
what's-
the gist of my question is, it's past what we have as a contingency fund, the amount that we would have to spend. It's more in the bonding range than the $2 million we have in the
Yeah,
save there.
It seems to me if we have the time to do it on a known schedule, and it's a significant amount of money, we would bond it. That would be my guess.
I think that would be probably the best way to spread it out.
Yeah.
I don't like to pay interest if I don't have to, but sometimes the projects are so large that you can't take
Well,
that
these
full.
are, all of these
thing.
projects have
Lifespan.
30, 50 plus years of benefit.
And savings
Yeah.
right away.
And savings, yeah.
So I'm hopeful that there are some flood mitigation grants or that'll be helpful here.
Yeah, that's great to hear that. You good, Bob?
I am.
Everybody good on item number 7? Summary of current and future projected bonding. Okay, with that, we'll go back to item number 3. Looking for raised hands. Okay.
For what?
Just to see if we need to do something different.
We've got a time limit here, Craig.
Yeah, I know, we gotta run.
Drag it out.
Gotta run. We're already done with 1, 2, 7, I mean, we're rolling. Public hearing. I'm just blabbing, should I shut up?
No, I have to clear my throat.
All right, so let's set the fee.
Okay,
Let's haggle.
let's haggle.
Okay.
So.
Bob?
Go ahead.
Me?
You're trying to, here you go.
Move-
Should we just go down the
moving
line and
along,
see? Yeah, let's go
moving
down the line and see what
along.
everybody thinks. What do you think the fee should be, Bob? And what are your reasons?
Well, I don't think that what are we calling it? Contingency fund or, I'm sorry,
Reserve fund.
reserve fund. I don't believe that the reserve fund should go down any. I think it's in a good place. So I would say we should be around 1.5 to 2.
Percent.
Yes.
Okay.
Was that like 701 then?
Yeah, like $7.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like right in the middle there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Peter, what are your thoughts on
I'm sorry.
the rate and your reasoning?
Well,
We're gonna ask for Stanford in a minute.
We,
I want to make sure you guys have the right
is it-
printout in front of you, right? There should be no odd numbers in the rate.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I-
No,
He said 701, I went,
No, I'm only splitting the atom, because that's.
He doesn't like- he
I'm
doesn't
going-
like odd numbers.
It's 1.74% and 2.03, and I said, all right, so he's.
we have been asked by our tax collector, who
Oh, no
helps
one-
us,
okay.
helps us a lot, if we could just try to keep that at
All right,
even number.
so you're
So I redid
7.
the graph for you.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were like a
I was
gas
gonna do an
station where it
aggregate
could be
average.
0.9.
9. Okay.
You weren't
Sorry,
gonna-
I'm sorry, Peter.
We were gonna
These are
get
the,
to an
these are the
even.
numbers we have to choose from.
Yeah, but if he's there, we could average them all,
He
correct?
said 1.5 to 2, and I picked 1.74. It's right in the middle.
Yeah, right. No, it's not. Okay.
Peter,
Yeah,
your thoughts on the
I-
rate and your
well,
reasoning?
um,
You're going last.
I like the proposed rate. It's 3.1%. It probably would generate $131,068, which would appear to be large, but it's really not, because you got inflation.
So to use,
And that inflation's gonna eat that up pretty fast.
so to use Ed's new numbers, to be under 3%, we'd be at $7.08.
Yep.
And that would be about $100,000, at least estimated,
Yeah.
added to the
Right,
reserve fund.
Right.
Okay. And you think that's
I think
reasonable,
that's-
given
That's fair. I mean,
inflation?
you're running a public utility when you get right down to it.
This is true. Susan, any thoughts on the rate or your reasonings?
I would go all the way up to the 3.05%. I watched our meeting, and I was struck by Peter's comments and Ed's comments at our last meeting, and being comfortable with these numbers, knowing what Stanford has in store. And there was an article in the Stanford Advocate today saying that they might have some issues with their
Actually,
system.
I read the article, and that's not what it said.
It isn't?
No, the headline was very clickbaity in that, is there a problem with the WPCA capacity? And if you
Right.
read the article, it said, actually, there's not. Bill Brink said it's running at about 2/3.
Right, but they don't go into whether or not that's wet weather or whether or not that is dry weather. And they did seem to indicate that there could be some issues, because I read all the way through.
Yes.
The 2/3 doesn't, the 2/3 is not going to be an issue if there is a wet weather capacity issue, right?
It is feasible that wet weather can do things to your sewer system that you didn't anticipate. Although
Right.
Bill Brink was quoted in the article as saying, similar to what our superintendent has said, that we typically don't have sewer overflows unless there is a contributing problem like a blockage or a break. We don't have sewer overflow problems just because the sewer is under capacity.
Although in our last meeting, he did say, not to put words in your mouth, but it did say he feels a lot more comfortable in dry weather than he feels in wet
Me
weather.
too. Me too. So, but to go back to your
Because-
numbers, to use today's current chart, right? If we're
Right.
at 710, that's
709 is 3.05%.
well, based on today's chart, yeah, okay, he wants 710
Oh,
or
I'm sorry, I
708.
guess I'm looking at
I don't
last
think we can
month's
do
meeting.
seven.
Published
Yeah.
up to is 7.
We only, we went
Oh,
up
yeah,
to
we can't do
709.
709, and we've been requested by the tax collector to do an
Right,
even number.
so 708 is the max, based on
Yeah.
logic and round.
No,
numbers.
we could do 709.
No, we can't, because the
The
tax collector doesn't like that, odd numbers.
They want even numbers.
Oh, odd, oh.
Oh, so these are different.
These are slightly different. They've been updated.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I'm
So I
looking at
think-
the chart from last,
I think 708 is 2.9%.
So you're voting
All right,
on
so
for 708.
708.
Okay.
which is just very close to 709.
It is. Reese,
I'm gonna be at that same number.
you're going to be at 708.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it adds 100,000 just to the reserve fund, which is about what the bond interest is gonna go up next year.
In the interest of time, I'm not going to say anything, because
No, come up with an average, dude, I'm serious. If the three of us are here, average them all. If you
No.
wanna be 7%,
got 3 votes.
no, it's not
Listen,
that. It's not-
again, my thinking is, this is all about, hey, look, we're in a fantastic place.
right? We could theoretically go to 692 and balance the budget if Ed can predict the future when he does his spreadsheet. And we're talking about a little bit of buffer on top of predicting the future. And I totally understand wanting that little bit of buffer when you're trying to predict the future. I just come from a standpoint of when we need the money, we can go get it. We can go get it.
All right, now, I would counter my argument with your argument and add the fact that the town can bond at a rate that's very highly competitive,
Yeah.
rate-wise.
Yeah.
We're getting money cheaper than inflation. So it's cheaper to borrow money than use our own. I know that sounds illogical, but it might be.
Yeah.
So-
Current situation that is true. Yeah, look, I just,
So if you're at
it's a
7.
philosophy of, my philosophy is I want to keep it as low as possible. And my philosophy is we do our best to predict the future. He's got increases in there for City of Stamford. He's got increases in there for some other things. So he's already kind of set his predictive budget. And then we're just kind of adding a contingency on top of that.
So throw 7%, because that's where the minimum is, and average the 3, average the 5.
Okay, so we got a consensus builder here to my right. I always
Well, there's a
appreciate-
reasonable argument for both, Frank. And
Yeah.
that we go back and forth every year, and I'm a squirrel that likes to put the nuts away. And you can, if money's cheaper.
So that would be 704.8, so we go on the high side of that is 706. I guess the low side of that is 704, the high side is 706. So given that the 3 votes are above, we can go to 706. Is that,
I'll make that motion.
okay. So we have a motion on the table to increase the sewer user fee to $7.06 for every 100 cubic feet of water used, which would
2.62%.
would be a 2.62% increase over current rates, and the minimum charge would be set to $274.34. So that's the motion. That's Reese's motion. Do I have a second on the motion?
I do.
Peter seconds the motion. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? All right. Everybody gets a little bit. Thank you, sir.
Democracy.
Compromise, something that doesn't exist. No, you vote your way, I vote mine.
They can both be right at the same time.
Which is true.
Question from the
Yes, sir.
table.
I didn't want to just disturb your vote because it was going really, really well.
Okay.
I
We took the vote.
I hope you did take a chance to take a look at those other sheets I did put in there, because I
Yes.
wanted to give you a flavor
Yeah.
of where we've been.
Yeah.
And-
Which is shocking.
Yes.
When you aggregate those high 7+% to the
Yeah.
0%, it's almost
And-
cost and,
Yeah.
And I think, you know, most people, they look at that and they see the up and down of the graph, but generally speaking, we want to be around 2 or 3, right? Somewhere in that range, and I think we've done that over the years.
if you did inflation over these numbers, I bet it'd be, the 10-year average would probably be pretty close, other than the last 2 years.
Yeah. I agree.
Shocking.
I agree with you. But hopefully that gave you a little bit of a flavor of where Sanford's been to and where we've been and where we're headed.
Yep. Okay, so that was,
I would
Great,
just
great
like to
chart.
yes, sir.
Make one little comment. The way the economy works, the government has to pump, even at the best times, 2% more money into the economy all the time because of the errors that are made in investing, which are losses. So 2% is the normal rate of inflation, and that's why. Okay? Sort of.
I think this whole process and all these numbers prove that we have our financial house in order.
Right.
And I think we should feel good about that going forward. Item number 4, sewer connection fee, discussion and action. There's nothing really to read on that, other than the idea that we're going to change the
Add single-family
user
houses.
fee, the connection fee chart, the first 2 rows of it, to just get collapsed down to a connection fee of $750 for each additional bedroom
Net.
net added to the system, because we're trying to get increase in flow and get a kind of prorated connection fee for that increase in flow.
And I had Darren pass those out to you because it wasn't in the package. I figured at least have the ordinance in front of you.
Yeah.
In case you wanted to take a look at it. And,
Yep. Oh, there, that second page, yep.
But my gut is the first two pieces will be condensed
Yes.
into one.
Yes. That's what we're talking about. So those first two rows turn into one row. Residential only developments, well, not developments, residential only uses, adding bedrooms, $750 per bedroom. Probably come up with better words than that, but I think we all got the idea. Any questions?
No.
Okay,
And Bob, this is you. Since joining here, that's been an issue, and
Would you like to?
you,
I'd like to
Yes.
make a motion to move
Hold
the
on.
connection fee up to a net of
Yeah.
up to $750 per bedroom net. I think it's the way to, would be the proper way to say it.
Sounds good.
So that if, for example, if a existing two-bedroom house were torn down and replaced by a new four-bedroom house, the cost of connection would be $1,500.
Okay. Sorry.
I get a second.
I'll second it.
We,
Oh, any discussion on
we,
it?
we will
Yeah.
write something up,
Yeah.
as always.
Yeah.
Have you folks
Yeah.
bless it, and then the town attorney bless it also.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Yeah, we've had the public hearing on it.
Yep.
So we can take an action as long as the action is consistent with our advertising for the public hearing.
draft it.
The other example would be if a house were to add two bedrooms, it would cost them $1,500 without tearing it down.
Yep.
Or disconnecting the sewer and reconnecting it, just if they add two bedrooms.
Yeah.
It would cost them $1,500. Because
good.
of their,
Potential increase.
because of the potential flow increase from that,
Occupancy.
Look, I still think it's a fair price.
Yep.
oh, so do I. I
Cheaper than
thought it was
before.
fair for quite some time.
I'll second that motion if we need that.
Okay, so then just with a slight amendment to the motion, that it's to direct staff to
Yes.
prepare the language that shows that.
Yep, and town council to review.
All those in favor?
Yep.
All right, that one passes. All right, peer review cost discussion and action. So we have some words on this one.
We're just mirroring the other agencies.
Well, the language changed quite a bit from what we saw previously, right?
I'm on the technical, the header is technical review fees for peer review of sewer capacity analysis.
Right, and then on the reverse side of it is the original language,
Oh, okay.
correct?
Oh, that's the P and Z language, okay. Got it.
So what I did here was I took your P and Z one
Uh-huh.
and made it for the sewer. I had Darren put eyes on it too, but this is the first, like I said, the first blush at this.
All right.
And, you know,
Same thing, town council.
yeah, it would have to be, but I think this is gonna go back and forth maybe a couple times with us and the
Okay.
commission,
All right.
just to get it right. And then, of course, town council to approve it.
So-
I'll make a motion.
Well, hold on, before we do that, does anyone have any immediate comments on what was drafted? Or we could send it on to town council
If
for
you-
review at this point.
It's completely up to you guys.
Yeah.
If you want to take some time, make some comments, get them to us before the next meeting, I'll incorporate it.
Yeah.
I'll ask Penny to do that, and then we'll put them in front of you again, and we'll take a look at it in the next package.
Does
It's
that
completely
sound
up to
good to
you.
everybody?
Yeah.
Or do you have anything you want to bring up? or-
I just want to continue, I know I'm going to sound like I'm harping on this, but I
Yeah.
want to continue to focus on wet weather
Yeah.
and making sure that when we're doing these capacity studies, we're taking into account wet weather, which is what they tell you to do when you read the EPA's guidelines. Granted, they're old, but I can't imagine they've,
So we have in the next item, right, which is the proposed development sanitary sewer analysis review criteria and procedure. Under the third round bullet, there is the second square bullet, which says any flow metering must be for a minimum of 8 weeks and must capture an appreciable storm event. So that was the language we added to make sure that,
That's once it's triggered though, Craig.
yes, this would be
So I think
for developments of 3,750
Yeah.
gallons per day or more, which is when the,
Or areas of.
or areas of concern. That's correct.
Would be areas of wet weather concern? Be more
Any
inclusive?
area of concern, whether wet weather or not. We talked about leaving the consideration of area of concern to the superintendent, so it's kind of intentionally a bit vague. We also talked about, do we need to list what areas of concern are
Well,
in
they-
terms of,
They might change.
yeah. that's why
Probably
we-
they will change.
Yeah, so that's why we,
We'll be losing a few.
that's why we collapsed to
I
the
like that.
superintendent, or the town engineer or sewer commission can decide what an area of concern is.
That was my only point.
Yeah,
I feel that even when we asked the gal who was here from Arcadis, she kind of
Well, it's
didn't
difficult.
answer the
The
question.
EPA stuff was so vague, and I
And it
even called
is.
them, and they didn't call me back, surprise,
yeah,
surprise.
in my mind, the question is, what is what is the threshold for a wet weather event, right?
Right.
You know, is it an inch of rain? Is it 2 inches of rain? Is it 12 inches of rain? Like, at what point is it a flood that you cannot control no matter what you do? And at what point is it a consideration of high groundwater and a big intense rainfall event, and you want to make sure the sewer's working, so,
Want to make sure it's sealed.
yeah, this.
Right, I understand with
yeah.
groundwater. I
Yeah.
mean, I understand when you're talking stormwater. You don't want to try and design something for the 100-year storm. That's just crazy. But now we're talking the sewer system, which is sealed. We just want to make sure that it's
Yeah,
safe.
yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm just,
Yes,
Making
no,
sure.
I mean, and look, so anytime a sewer is installed, there's an air test on pipes to make
Mhm.
sure that they're in good condition. We're doing all this sealing work, not only of manholes, but of our pipes. I think it was 50 or, it's number 50 or 60 or more manholes in this phase of work to be done right now are gonna get flood-proof lids. So we're certainly focused on it.
we are focused on it. It's just that, like everything,
Yeah,
you've
this-
got to.
You want to get it in the words.
The
You want to
document
get
is
in the words,
sticky.
and you want to stay focused on maintenance, and you want to stay focused on the fact that it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
have to allow for that fact that it's
Yes.
not going to be perfect.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
that's my only point, and I know it's gotten apparently to
Well, it's
be,
very hard to type the storm or the
Right.
duration or the intensity that would cause problems
Yeah.
in a document.
Yeah.
I mean, your world is all about thresholds.
Well, everybody's world, you know,
Yeah.
health is a risk assessment.
Yeah.
right. All right, that was my only comment, was to make sure that we're,
I have a feeling that a lot of this is gonna come back from town council, be back and forth.
Okay, so I guess then the motion is, let's get it on to town council for a review, and then we can take a deeper look at it,
right.
Yeah.
okay?
So we table.
Have a second for that motion to get it to
Yep.
town council?
Yes,
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, there you go, that's item number 5.
Rescind
Yeah.
Peter?
I think so. Yeah.
Peter?
1, 2?
Peter was number 2?
1, 2?
I
1, 2?
think it was 1-2. I don't think I made the motion.
Okay, 1, 2.
I seconded it.
Sound
You
good?
second it?
I
Reese
guess
was
so.
Or maybe
first,
you
did you?
seconded it.
No.
I'm just.
All right, raise your hand if you firsted it.
I propose
Okay.
it.
Reese,
One,
I'll take
who
credit.
seconded
And
it?
then
Oh,
Peter
Peter
seconded it.
Okay.
And I'm
Susan
voting for
thirded
it.
it.
Really, we look very professional right now, don't worry about a thing. All right,
As long as it gets done.
Town
council.
item number 6, another pass at the administrative policy for proposed development, sanitary sewer analysis, review criteria and procedure.
Just the words in yellow, or
Yeah.
what you asked for, and
Looks
the
good.
rest of it remains the same.
Yeah,
So in terms of process, if there's a proposed development that the sewer commission itself thinks is an area of concern, it would be a triggering event as well,
No.
or you, or
Yeah.
staff.
yeah, I mean, I hope we don't have to go there.
No, I know that, but we're only sitting here for X amount of time, and there'll be 50 years from now, there'll be
Yeah.
another group, and you don't want the tension, but it's good to have another set of eyes too, in some ways.
In any group, whether it's,
What'd you say?
in any group, whether it's
You know
the town
that.
engineer or it's the sewer commission, there will be a certain amount of institutional knowledge
Yeah.
that develops.
More
That
knowledge.
is, got more knowledge than an individual applicant coming in.
Yep.
That said, I would hope that we wouldn't use this bullet
No.
frequently, because the whole point of writing this stuff down is to provide clarity for folks.
Yep, and technical expertise in making decisions, which is you guys,
Yeah.
not.
Any further comments on the administrative policy?
And would we be sending that to town council too? Is that sort of, or was
I
that?
don't think we need to on this one, unless you want to.
It depends on where we're gonna put it.
Yeah, do we want to put it in the regs, or is it just a memo that's our administrative policy?
You know, I think it works as a policy, but I don't know how you feel about that.
I had always imagined it would be an administrative policy that we could change from time to time, but I'm happy to hear.
I'm comfortable either way if it has the same
I think administrative
effect.
policy, because you have in the regs, we will have in the regs, the ability to set it.
It'll just be important to get an applicant, any applicant, this information quickly,
Right.
so they can't say, I didn't know. And,
Exactly.
you know, now you're sandbagging me, or any of the myriad of excuses later.
We'll coordinate this with P and Z.
Oh, perfect.
We'll put it on the website.
Yeah.
We will make it part of, you know, our.
Maybe even the planning and zoning checklist
That would be huge.
could have an item that says, you know, if increasing
Yeah.
sewer flow,
Please
check
do.
with the sewer department, or, you know, may need a,
That's
may need a
great
sewer
idea.
capacity report.
You're thinking like the way Greenwich, the checklist, sort
Yeah.
of back and forth between the offices. That's a good idea. So we want a motion to adopt this?
Can I just, what's the, I need a clarification between the two levels that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Levels?
Policy versus.
Whether it's
part of-
policy versus
Part of
We
our,
would have to have a public hearing to make a reg.
I understand that part of it. I'm just saying
The teeth.
yeah, exactly. Does it have as much teeth as a policy as that it does as a regulation?
Well, why don't we ask town council where this should live? Is that crazy? Is it a waste of money, time, effort?
No,
All
I don't
right,
think it's a waste.
why don't we do that?
It really does, it comes down to your comfort level. And you folks have been involved in all types of boards, most of you, so you know the difference between a policy and the ordinance and how much weight it carries. But once this policy is instituted and used on a regular basis, it will just become, you know, the norm. Because there won't be any permits being issued unless they're following this policy.
I like an administrative policy. I mean,
Because you can change it. easily.
I'm comfortable
Yeah.
with the policy.
yeah, you
Why
can't
don't we-
violate,
why don't
you
we
can't
try
violate
it?
an ordinance, right?
Why don't we try it? If there's ever a wrinkle, we come back and make it part of the regulations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm wondering if it ends up being like what happened with us in the peer review.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of afraid of.
Oh,
That's
that
why
was,
I'm,
to me, that was never stated as administrative policy. It was never written down, you know.
but
Us guys.
so I'm asking,
Yeah.
does the administrative policy have enough teeth to be able to enforce something like that? Is what I'm asking. I don't know the answer, so I'm asking the question.
Well, it just clarifies the process for capacity analysis, which is already in the regulations, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a add-on
Right.
here. This is how we do it.
It's, yeah, in the zoning regs, it says you have to prove adequate capacity of
Yeah.
supporting infrastructure, and this is the
Yep.
administrative policy behind that set of regulations.
It's
I mean, do the
guidelines for them.
what if the reg said that you need to follow the policy? Then you could change the policy because the
Yeah, I like
policy's
that
outside the
thought.
regs.
Yeah, I like that. And it
Does that make sense, or are we?
There shall be an administrative policy,
Yeah,
you know.
which may be adopted from time to time, changed, altered
Yeah.
at the commission's discretion.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That would be what you would ask town council.
Okay, so
Of course,
consensus is
of course,
to,
planning and zoning, if someone wanted to go outside of that amount,
Even a blind
Say no.
squirrel finds a nut every
No.
now and then.
yeah,
no.
Yeah, yeah, we have, if we said no, and it went back to P and Z, they could say no. And you'd think they would.
These are guidelines to help them to
Yeah,
know what we're
yeah,
thinking
right.
in
Yeah.
advance, so that they don't spend a lot of time coming back and saying, well, what are
Right,
you
we don't
thinking?
understand.
Well, this is what we're
Everybody's
thinking
time.
we're gonna do, and then we go, well, wait.
Yeah,
this-
but once this is done once, or someone, in
They'll figure
Canada's
it out.
done once.
Right.
and
So
it's-
look, it might, the answer might be, it's fine the way it is. The answer might be, let's add 2 sentences to the regs when we get around to it.
Whenever we change them again.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the answer might be. So the consensus is that we like the language
Mhm.
and that we are interested in town council's opinion as
Where it
whether or not
lives.
this can stand alone as an administrative policy or if something should be modified in our regulations to support it.
Even if it's just to say in the
around
regulations
C
that we have
also.
this policy and,
Yeah.
okay.
Bob, motion?
Did you like that motion?
Yeah, I'm good with that motion. Do you want me to try and surmise
No,
it?
that's fine.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? All right, there we go. Unanimous.
Okay.
6, 7 is done. 8,
Hillcamp.
Yeah,
thank you.
Table of Appeals, Corbin and Heights, discussion and action. I think I said, you know what, I'm on the fence, so I might, and you've got plenty of people here, so I might as well just recuse myself just in case. Since one of my clients is on the list for action, so. Bob, it's your meeting.
Okay, so if we're looking at the list, it's 2 of 10. And we are I think we're mainly looking at the
Last line, huh?
the 138 Heights Road. Because the difference between their actual use and the amount that we charge them is $27,060. And in our, what month was this meeting?
April.
April meeting, Susan mentioned that we should go back 12 months and, balance the books once, we have
We voted on it.
we have the numbers.
Yeah.
And it was made as a motion and passed. I personally don't even see that action's necessary. It's already been put in place to do that. But if we want to make a motion again, just to put the suspenders on along with the belt, I'm okay with that.
So you'd want a motion to send them a bill for $27,060 to make up the difference from what's owed and what was paid?
Yes.
Okay, I'll
Yes.
make that motion. I think that's fair.
That's just,
Commercials based on use. We have a use. If it was in our resolution originally to.
it was in our resolution back on April 5th. The only other thing I might say is that this should be ongoing.
Yep.
Not just for this case, but anytime we have one of these big commercial developments coming online, where we're not going to know what the amount will be, we will recoup it. So it should be a
Yeah.
policy, like we just discussed. It should be a policy that we're going to follow, so that the people who are building these large projects aren't surprised.
Would the same thing happen with a single-family house? Would they get a deal the first year, maybe, the minimum and then the makeup?
I think if you go back in time on some of the appeals that we've heard, where folks have come in and they've been billed quite high, from the family with 4
Beforehand.
boys,
Right.
and they're moving in with a small family of maybe 3.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that, we've been tracking.
So we
and
sort
we've been
of-
noticing a small trend.
We've sort of
Until this
done,
one.
we've sort of done that then, chasing sort of fairness.
Fundamental fairness.
Fundamental,
exactly.
yeah, fairness on both ends.
But I don't think until the Corbin and Federal project did we actually refund any of the money to a large development. Some of the smaller residential homes that have come in for appeals, and we have granted
What
them.
about Old Town Hall homes? Do we do anything there?
I don't recall
I don't
that one, I'd
remember.
have to
I
look.
know they didn't finish their permit right and they had to come back in to get the connection. something.
That was the main reason I wanted to see this. I wanted to know when, because I think there is fundamental fairness, which,
Yeah.
you know, I believe strongly in. So if people come in and the people before them had a huge family and their water usage was heavy, and now you've got two people who are here and they're only here half of the year
And they
because they
bring
have.
their old bill and they prove.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that we should give them a break. And I do not believe in the flip side, we have to go start tracking down people where it was a two-person household, and now a family of five moves in. They're gonna get caught up. And I was curious to see how much were we forgiving, and we're not really forgiving that much. And until we got down to this last line, and then I was pleased that we had actually discussed this, and I actually already made a motion
The
that we
one-
should go
oops,
back.
sorry.
Because I think that's what we need to do.
Well, commercial's based on use. It's totally,
Right.
linear.
So
right?
that's true, it's used for the 12 months.
There's no
of the year.
netting of sprinkler systems.
Right.
Usually, it's just straight.
And we did meet, well, federal, let's talk federal in particular. We did meet out in the field. Penny and Tony both went out there. They went and looked at the meters. They spoke to the gentleman there.
Right.
About the situation that the building is going to come to. If you look in the package, she's asked them to come, and they weren't available, obviously, or they would have been here. But the big picture was, we did tell them that if you do have water going someplace other than
Let us
down the
know.
drain,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to you're gonna want to sub-meter it,
Right.
basically. So, we've been trying to guide them, because we knew it was a large project. And we'll do the same with Corbin, we'll do the same with the Palmer's Market too, when that comes on.
Did they sub-meter for the plantings on the
they-
west
I
side? or-
don't know, he
Who
didn't
knows?
know either, but he was gonna look into it.
Okay.
Because they have a lot of plantings, and I'm sure they're irrigated.
I thought so too. I thought so too.
But they can, but that's,
Do you want to just generate a letter saying this is what we're seeing based on just use? If you can prove some sort of sub-metering, we could allocate the bill accordingly?
Well, I think, let us generate the letter.
Okay.
If you want to see it before we send it, we're more than happy to do that, but we're just gonna remind them that, you came in for the appeal, we did tell you that we were gonna go back and look and
Got it.
true it up, if you will.
Yep.
And we'll have, we'll have a
And if they
first
haven't
shot.
installed net meters yet for the irrigation, please do so.
He hasn't notified us, or we would have gone out and read the meter,
yeah.
so
Okay.
that.
I think that's
If it's
great.
going down the drain, that they need to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's different than residential.
The one thing I will say, and you guys were equating when the families come in and they're asking for a lower bill, they have a history that they're usually showing us. Here, they didn't have a history, so I don't consider the situations you're referring to the same as this. I believe it's apples and oranges.
Okay.
This is brand-new situation that they're coming from, so I don't believe
I think
that.
Susan cast that net just out of fairness, trying to level things up.
And I do think that's true. We have asked them to bring in their water bill from where they lived before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Just to
people
see.
brought it in from Westchester County and
Yeah.
other places, so
I was
so
over-
they're showing us a history that what we're going, I mean, we're trying to be fair and equitable, but we need something to back that up. It's not, we're not just pulling things out of thin air. And unfortunately, with an establishment this big, if we had had to pull something out of thin air, we might have just as easily overcharged them by $27,000. So I think with the scale of this, I think it's more than fair that once a year was up, we went back and
Trued it up.
looked at it and trued up the account.
Right.
I'm good with that. Do you want to write the letter?
I will draft the letter up. and-
I'll make a motion to draft a letter showing the discrepancy, if there's any sub-metering they can do to,
Okay.
level
They need to
it
do right.
appropriately. We're more than willing to work with them.
But unfortunately, their sub-metering is not gonna work because it wasn't zeroed. There wasn't a starting point for their metering to show you.
Oh, no.
Maybe they have it.
No,
Maybe
it
hasn't.
won't be for this one.
No, that's what
But
I'm.
going into the future,
Yeah.
the sub-metering will be effective.
Yeah, it couldn't work for this
Right,
because it
unless-
wasn't.
Unless they have it, and they just haven't shown us
They
the
just
meters.
haven't shown it yet. 'cause
He
they knew
didn't think they
could do
did,
it.
and they went to all the buildings in the basements and checked out the
Oh,
meters.
was
But we'll continue to follow up on that one.
I take it,
This motion is for federals,
Yeah.
in just that particular one.
Yeah.
Correct.
I take it
Are we
they've
missing
net,
something else?
Well, we're going to talk about it as soon as you guys finish the motion.
Okay.
All right.
I take it that they've not paid us $41,295, right?
No, they paid us
15, 135.
the 15,135.
Right.
If they want to come in and talk about it. But, yeah, I make a motion, Bob, second? Or do you want?
No, I can't second it.
The whole motion.
The motion is that Ed will draft a letter showing that that the actual use is higher than what we billed them for. The discrepancy is this $27,060. And if they want to install sub-metering to net out any of their non-sewer related water use, we're more than willing to work with them and read the meters every year.
All right.
But it's pursuant to our resolution. You weren't at the meeting that we already passed in April.
Right,
You were
it was-
missed. It was your
yeah.
anniversary, I believe.
Yeah.
All right,
So do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
right,
Good job on chairman not voting.
all right.
Should we call Craig back in? Hey, Craig.
No, doesn't sound like it.
Well,
Maybe.
I think he
That
can,
was his
'cause I think
comment.
we,
Oh, okay.
we may have put aside the possible conflict of whatever.
Okay.
So, so let's talk about the other two then, because it's gonna happen again,
The imaginary gal.
and
Oh, why don't you just run this one, since you were part of the discussion, but
that's
just under
fine.
to listen and vote.
we, sorry, we have Corbin
Yes,
and we have Palmer's that are gonna come online.
yes.
And we have to put something in place that allows us to look back specifically with a direction to make it, as you say, fair, I say true up the
Yeah.
accounts.
True up, yeah.
But because I think the ratepayers deserve that,
Yeah.
specifically the magnitude that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I understand the residential part of it. I
Right.
do. So I don't know how to address that part. We haven't done anything with Corbin. There's a small shortfall there. But we should start, because the appeals will come in again.
Do you want to send a letter now? Because it hasn't happened yet, give them a little warning?
I don't know how you want me to craft it, or what would you like me to put in it?
Well, they have the choice, of course, of getting whatever bill we could send them and coming in and asking to appeal it, at which point we'll say, like we did with the federal, okay, but when we know what the actual amount is, we're gonna do a truing up. I don't know if you can make that.
In an effort of
What
fairness.
if we had
'Cause of-
another administrative policy that
Yeah.
just described exactly what we're
Yeah.
going to do in these
Well, that's
situations?
where I was going with
Yeah.
my,
This is how we handle these situations.
Want a new
now that
development?
we've got,
And we can approve an administrative policy, and you can send it out to everybody you think needs it.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're
That
going to
gives-
say something along the lines of in lieu of an immediate bill that would be based on a immediate full occupancy. So it would be the proposed flow instantly. We're going to, after a year, go back and true up the account to allow for the staggered occupancy of your project.
How about just retroactively bill for actual usage rather than estimated usage?
That works.
Well said.
well, and the original motion was to charge mixed-use property on commercial account basis and agree when better data is available, we make sure the user fee they paid for the year reflects actual usage. I mean, that's what we're looking for, right?
Yeah,
That was the
exactly.
original motion.
So the
We just made it
consen-
only for federal,
The
I'm just saying.
consensus sounds like, given the prior motion,
Yeah, we're just gonna make that
we're going to
motion.
make it clear
the
that that's an
regulation for-
administrative policy.
Yeah.
And then you can send,
Yep. And then they're welcome to come in and talk about it if they want to.
Right.
You can send letters out to active
Remind them.
building permit.
You might want to
Yep.
meter your irrigation.
Yeah, that would be great to tell them in advance. Okay.
Are we good on item number 8 then, in your mind, Ed?
I do think so, yes.
Okay, great. Item number,
I'm sorry, Craig, I do have to throw this in. When we talk about staggered use and we talk about chewing up or to look back, if you will, to level the billing, this could happen, and for one project, over a number of years, based on the size of the project. So you need to be aware of that too.
Oh, it means split years, sure.
Yeah,
Could take-
no, it's
well,
just
could
gonna
take
go 2
more
or
than
3
a year
years.
to fill out all that.
Corbin could be 3 years from start to finish, that
Yeah.
project, so yeah.
It would be
Thankfully,
okay
different
if,
accounts, but, yeah.
let's,
Yeah.
let's use federal as an example. If they had, each building had their own address, but what they asked us to do, and they asked the test,
Put
they
all
put it
in.
all in one.
Yeah,
Which means one building was full, the other one wasn't finished yet, and it didn't, the third hadn't even started. So at the end of the year now, it's one's full, one's 2/3 full, and they just finished the other one. So you're gonna see that progression through a project over a number of years, and you're gonna
Yeah,
see
well,
the.
that then says, well, when is the stop point?
Yeah.
You know, when do you stop looking back? Because then you could argue, well, it went down, so you're gonna give me a credit? You know?
Up to full occupancy? I mean,
Yeah,
is there
last calendar
some
But
verbiage?
we're using it off of actual data.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think you need to keep going back. I think as the actual data comes available, you're only going back a quarter. You know, I don't
Right.
think we need to do a year. Every quarter, you should be able to true it up. No?
Every quarter of what?
I think
A year?
I think every year is fine, but.
I think once it's 2 or 3 years old, a year old, whenever it's fully developed, fully fitted,
Yeah.
you know, then you're really just.
After they have their final
The
CO
plane's
or
flying at 19,000 or whatever, it'll stay near there, unless they add a car wash or the tenants change and the restaurant goes in where there was retail.
But then that's just normal.
That's
That's just
normal,
our
yeah,
normal.
that's small.
And I think where we ran into the problem with federal was some of the buildings had been demoed,
Yeah.
remember? And they still got the minimum charge. So we had to give them a rebate for that. There was use in a building that was taken down, and they charged them for that. So our billing isn't perfect. We do have to go and, squeegee through some of this thing and make it
Like-
right, if you will.
Maybe,
So-
maybe I'm missing something. Commercial billing is only once a year?
What's two
For
payments?
for sewer, you could
It's
split it
only
in
once
half.
a year,
Send out one
though.
bill a year.
We develop the bill once a year.
Okay, all right.
And we split
I-
it in two if you like the payments are above 500 each.
Okay.
It's getting more, closer to perfect, but never even close.
Never get it perfect. Timing seems to play a big role in our billing.
All right, well, we'll see the language you come up with.
Okay.
At some point in the future, and we'll comment on that.
I mean, is that the issue that, when you start getting projects that are this big, or developments, or,
Yeah, scale matters. It's just a.
I mean, no, I'm saying, should they be billed out more often to stop this? I mean, because, on both sides, I mean, it's surprise either way. I mean, should it be done every quarter once the bill gets above $10,000?
It gets complicated for staff though and all that.
Yeah, which
They-
ones do
They
you
obviously
do?
only want to.
Well, you have to pull a number out
I
of
mean,
it.
when you look at that development, I think it's mind-numbing they didn't do separate services. They could condo it later, they could, millions of things pop into my head of why one water main doesn't make sense.
Well, each building has its own
Yeah.
service.
Okay.
If they just have one bill.
One bill.
Yes, one sewer bill. Just to make it easy so they
Right
don't miss
there.
one on their side.
Yeah,
They get
fair
one
enough,
bill,
fair
they
enough.
put one bill.
They'll get to it eventually. No, I think they're ready.
All right. Darren, are you keeping track of the time here?
I just want to write down the times
Just
of
think
each
about
bullet point.
It's only.
Are we?
I think we're moving fine.
Good, moving past number 8, understanding that we'll be talking about it again?
Yes.
Item number 9, sewer lateral repair 15 and 16 Stonewall Lane in the vicinity of 51 Buttonwood Lane.
This is wild.
We became aware of a potential sewer leak a couple weeks before this email here that you see. And we are aware of number 15 Stonewall sewer pumps into number 16 Stonewall, and then 16 Stonewall pumps through property of 51 Buttonwood to the sewer main located in Buttonwood. We found a sinkhole in the road. There was damp pavement on occasion, and the edge of the shoulder of the road was moist. So I believe it was number 51 who called it in and was concerned about a potential leak in the sewer, and he said he detected an odor. So we immediately reached out to the owner of 16 to try and introduce dye into their sewer system to see if we could definitively tell that it was related to their sewer, that it was the moisture and the odor was definitely from their sewer. We encountered resistance. They would not let us put dye on the toilet. So we persisted and tried another way to get the dye into the toilet, tried a meeting to try and get dye into the toilet. So we met with both owners and their plumber, and the owners told us that they needed more time to talk to their lawyer. So we said, okay. The next day, we called them and said, did you consider our request? And we were told their lawyer was away for a week and they wouldn't be able to give us a decision, and that we had not really presented any evidence that it was their problem or that this problem was related to their lateral. Now, at the time of the meeting, we did explain to them that there was a water line project that was done about 5 years ago, and that we had a similar problem with another set of homes on Stonewall, and that the water line installation broke the sewer lateral for those people, but it was closer in time. The incident was closer in time to when when the water line was put in. The water company and the water company's contractor took responsibility for that lateral and caused a repair in the previous incident. We reached out to the water company, and we couldn't get an answer directly right away, so it went up the chain of command, and we were told, due to the passage of time, that the water company could not take responsibility. The water warranty period had expired. So at that point, we felt compelled to act, and we didn't really see any other recourse. So at that point, it became clear to us that everybody was digging their heels in, and that no one was really going to take responsibility for it, even though we explained the lateral is 100% the homeowner's responsibility. So we hired a contractor, and we went out and excavated. The first photo in your package, there, the blue ribbon, you see that ribbon right there?
Yeah.
That's a ribbon that's indicative of a water line buried below. You don't see the water line here because the water line is below the sewer. The ribbon is above the sewer, which it should be, so that people know that when they're digging, there's a water line located there. However, you don't see it because it's below the sewer. Now, it's easy to conclude that the sewer pipe that you see, the green section of pipe there, is directly in line with where the water line was installed. You can also see the Fernco connections on both ends of the pipe are deformed from settlement. It's also worth pointing out that those Ferncos we do not allow.
You have to have the metal, right? The metal band?
Yeah, we want the 4-band Fernco, which would help prevent the pipes from becoming misaligned. Also, the green pipe is indicative of a 4-inch SDR35 PVC, which we do not allow. It's not, it's in the code of ordinance. It has to be cast iron or equal. The Sewer Commission has decided that Schedule 40 PVC pipe is equal to cast iron, and that's okay. But we allow 6-inch SDR35. This is a 4-inch pipe. The pipes that you see on both sides of that green repair are cast iron. If you look on the left, the Fernco on the left, which is upstream, you can see that the ground is black, and that's indicative of that was the Fernco that was leaking. And amazing to us that it apparently made it to the surface to enough of a degree that it was evident for a nearby property owner to call and report the incident.
It's amazing the roots didn't get in there too.
What's that?
Roots, they can grow right in there easily in those Fernco's.
They could, we didn't see any roots, so
I had that happen.
when we did the repair, when we took this apart, the first thing that we noticed was that the green pipe, you know, it was depressed, so it had some sludge in there, as you would expect from the slow-moving sewage through that area. It wasn't pitched properly due to the effects of the settling of the earth. But what we didn't notice was if that was anywhere near bad enough to cause the problem that it caused. And we say that because when we picked the pipe up, the sludge just poured out. Now there's a, you have to remember this line is fed by a pump from the pump at number 16, which pushes the sewage through a small diameter pipe and connects to this 4-inch in a manhole off of the road on the property of 51, by the way. So you would expect with the pressure of the sewage, a 2-inch pipe or 1.5 inches, whatever it was, blasting into a 4-inch, you would expect that even though there's a sag in the pipe, that the sewage would keep going. Now the hole that you're looking here is about 5 feet deep, and the sewer in the road is about 10 feet or more deep. And it's not very far away. It's probably like, I don't know, 6 feet away. The main is probably 6 feet away from the repair that we did. So we believe that there's a chimney connection that was made to the sewer. Our sewer crew internally televised the sewer on Buttonwood today, and we found that the lateral for this connection is protruding between 12 and 11 o'clock. So it might be a chimney connection. If it's not a chimney connection, it's something on a weird angle. So with what I just told you, when we looked at this, the question becomes, if the blockage is not in that green pipe, how is the sewage leaking out of that Fernco under pressure enormous enough to breach the ground surface 5 feet above it? Well, that means the Fernco on the right, the downstream Fernco, must have held up, right? And it didn't leak. There's no staining of the soil. And so when you go to not the next photo, the last photo, you can see a worker with a 6-foot bar in the pipe trying to feel around for a blockage, trying to clear a blockage. If there was a blockage, there must be. We even went so far as to get some of our equipment and tried to internally televise it by manually inserting a camera in the downstream end of the pipe where the blockage must be in order to create a leak on the upstream side. The camera was very difficult to get in because the walls of the pipe it appears to be tuberculated. It was hard and scaly and as black as coal, so it's been septic. And then we took a pipe, a hose from our Shiriko machine. We took the nozzle off. We were very afraid that if we did any kind of formal jet rotting, especially with the chimney connection there in unknown condition, that we might get it stuck. So we took the nozzle off and stuck the hose up there and sprayed it as hard as we could. And we opened the manhole downstream, which is also very near to this incident. And we did notice that the water was running pretty clear, and then we noticed that some black material was coming through. But the overwhelming majority of the water that we injected came right back into the hole that we excavated. So we believe that something's wrong. We don't know.
The pitch was back pitched, or?
It could be back pitch, but what we really believe is that there's a blockage.
Like roots or something, or?
I don't think so. I think what we found is this hard, scaly substance which narrowed the diameter of the pipe. And even with the bar, we were very careful not to poke through in case there was a T, if we could reach a bend or something. We were very careful and cognizant not to cause more damage while we were there.
So when you say a chimney, there might be like like an internal manhole buried under the ground with
Well,
a
that was
drop.
kind
A vertical pipe above
yeah.
the main.
What's a chimney
Just a vertical
connection?
pipe.
Vertical pipe. So
Yeah.
instead of coming in.
But where's it coming from?
But that could be without a manhole?
So the lateral would come in, so this is the main and cross section, and this is your lateral coming in. If the lateral is way high above the main,
Okay.
they'll let you put a pipe
Oh,
right
okay,
on top
okay.
of the main and tie your lateral in like that.
And
Usually
what-
there's a clean out of there. but-
Of my other
Yeah,
words.
the cleanout would be
What's
the question.
tuberculated?
Tuberculation?
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Offline used the word tuberculated.
You get tuberculation. It's more evident in a water line.
Uh-huh.
You know how the calcium
Uh-huh.
that will build up around the outside?
So it's some kind of buildup of some kind of something.
Yes, they refer to that as tuberculation.
Okay, thank you.
Usually iron and rust and everything, and it just grows. kind
Grows
of
on it,
grows.
okay.
And the growing is, like,
It's like clogging an artery.
Well, what's the next step?
Yeah, get to
Yeah.
the punchline.
so, yes.
It gets good.
So,
It upsets me that these people wouldn't let you do a dye test.
yeah, before we actually did the work on their lateral, we did inform them and said, look, we're going to be doing something, and we probably will encounter your lateral, and we will probably do work on your lateral. So the first page, 1 of 5, is our email to the owners after we did the work, to let them know what we found and what we did on their lateral. And I guess worthy of note is the water company, we informed the water company also, and the water company sent their engineer out. The engineer that was responsible for the design and inspection of the water line. So the engineer did have a representative there all day while we did this work, and they were representing Aquarian Water, and they have full knowledge of everything that I just told you because they were there and we invited them. So before this started, we did tell the water company that if this ended up being a problem that we think it is, that we would seek to be made whole from them. And that they were, and by the way, we also reached out to the contractor. We know which contractor it was that was working for Aquarian, and we let them know too as a courtesy. They did not show up, but they appreciated that we let them know. And now, after we finished it, after we finished this repair, we now believe that, yeah, the water company absolutely broke the lateral. That's what the easy conclusion. And even though they broke it, though, it seems like there's something further downstream that's a problem.
You've uncovered two things, basically. You uncovered the fact that the water company broke the line and did a substandard repair and moved on
And didn't tell us.
and didn't tell you. And you discovered that these residences' lateral connection is clogged. It was really the clog of the lateral connection that caused the substandard repair to leak. But the clog probably is not Aquarion's fault. It's probably just a fault of age.
And the blue pipes, those are the ones that are the repair that Aquarian did
Correct.
illegally? Okay, got it.
Yes.
As I was wondering how the green pipes got put in if you don't allow green
Why
pipes.
would the Aquarian repair the sewer line?
Because they were replacing a water
Because they
main
broke
below.
it.
Their machine probably
And
went
they
right
don't have
through it.
an engineer from another firm
Well,
watching
they
the?
did. Well,
They did. And that's the same, it wasn't the same person, but it was the same engineering firm that the water companies sent out to represent them.
All right, it's a few minutes before 6.
Yeah.
So what do you want us to do?
Good.
I'd like to split the bill.
Split the bill? Well, you still have.
We spent a lot of money to work on a private lateral because we
Yes.
were compelled to.
Because
We
they
didn't
wouldn't.
want to.
Yes,
We tried
we had
everything.
to respond to a matter of public health. So we did the right thing. You did the right thing every step of the way. So the question is, to whom are we sending the bill for the work that we did? Do we send the bill to Aquarian and say very clearly, this was caused by you and needs to be paid for by you and was not done with our knowledge or in accordance with our regulations? And this is the bill. That would kind of be my first choice for this piece. And then the second piece, which I think you may have already done, but maybe we do again, is to say to the homeowners that rely on this lateral connection that there is a problem and a clog with their lateral connection that needs to be addressed. And it's their responsibility.
Yes,
address it.
and you just reminded me, there's one other piece of information that may be relevant to you. We were also in contact with the Darien Health Department, and they did reach out to the homeowner on our behalf early on, and they too were rebuffed and denied access to Diane to the system. So it wasn't just us. We did go the public health route.
So this was sent on August 22nd. Have you
I
had
mean,
any
my-
further communications with the homeowner since August 22nd?
We have not heard from them. And I did have a follow-up conversation. I know I had one phone conversation with the owners of number 15.
Yeah, it was before you sent the
Before,
email. Just
right?
before you sent the email.
Yeah, it was before. It wasn't after.
Yes, Peter.
So we have not heard from them at all since.
My inclination would be to bill the homeowner. It's their lateral. And they seem to like to go find an attorney.
The attorney
Great.
can fight with Aquarian.
Go, I mean, bill them and indicate that, we think that maybe the water company is responsible
For damaging your
your
home.
line, but it's your line.
I agree.
I agree
Why
with you.
should we litigate
Well,
with?
right up to the point where, Susan, let me, and I think you'll grab this piece. They did a substandard repair on a sewer line without permit, without permission, and without notification. And they have to be held accountable by the town, and I believe that.
Oh, okay.
And they will not, and I've told the water company already, please don't come in for permits right now. Until this is resolved, do not come for permits right now.
When their attorney calls and says, what's going on? Well, we're happy to make these statements for you if you have to go to court.
Now, the only thing I haven't done yet, and I haven't asked Aaron to do either, is pull the permit. I want to see who it was that pulled the permit. If it happened to be the contractor, well, then we need to hold the contractor responsible.
What year
Hold the
was
person responsible that had the permit in the roadway.
I mean, I don't think did the water company come out with their own crew and do it? Probably not.
No,
Yeah,
they had
they
a
had a
subcontractor.
Right? So the contractor eventually is gonna,
So we'll see who pulled the permit, and
So-
we'll address that accordingly. But Darren had suggested, do we split it 50-50 because the lateral is the homeowner, and
Well-
the contractor, if not done a substandard repair, would it have leaked?
Well, I mean,
It's a complicated one.
Lawyers
we-
will be
we-
deciding
we-
this for
I
you.
like where Peter's headed, which is why should we be,
Yeah.
and Susan, which is why should we be in the middle of it?
Yeah,
It's not,
lawyers are gonna decide this
other
for
than,
everybody.
we just paid the bill, so we're in the middle of it.
When did this
We've
happen?
already put money out to do the right thing, act accordingly. I would like to see it move so that we get reimbursed properly.
well.
So who do you
the
think
problem-
we should send the bill to?
I mean,
Honestly, I think we should, both of them should, they should split this bill in half.
you
To be
you
honest
give,
with
if you give the bill to the
And then they
homeowner,
can find
right?
it.
They're gonna give that to the attorney, and the attorney's gonna start digging into it, and they'll come back to you, and you'll say, well, here's the situation. It was we believe it was an improper repair by the water company, and here's why. And we have a backup material for you, and feel free, and, if it goes to court, I mean, there'll be some, back and forth, and there'll be a,
Peter, I think we
So
spent, what do you think, Darren, out there,
it-
maybe 15 grand?
It's,
Not to mention.
No, VD was,
workers.
you may even have to go to a deposition.
This is gonna.
so it
We were
sounds to me
outside.
like the superintendent would like permission to send this bill to both parties requesting that they pay 50%.
Why not send both parties 100% of the bill?
We can't do that.
I would think that would be inappropriate.
It'd be funny.
I'm just saying, but I think they both are have some skin in the game.
Responsible.
We've now found a problem in the lateral of the homeowner. Now, Peter, to your point, they wouldn't even let us put dye in it. I don't believe that after opening and looking at the bill we send them, that they're gonna waste any time in even looking at it after that. So I know the water company will respond appropriately eventually. I just don't know about the homeowners, and
Can
I think we need to.
The health
to
department insist on dye testing? I believe they can when
I don't wanna
it's
speak for
septic.
Dave. I
Couldn't
don't
they
know.
have tested the soil to see if there's E. coli in it? It's pretty
Look,
self-evident in my
We've
opinion.
solved the problem of where was the problem. The problem was on their lateral.
Is it completely
And
fixed? Did you guys?
Before forcing ourselves into someone's house when they were calling their attorney, we did the right thing.
And Bob, it wasn't glaringly obvious of anything. Before we dig, before I spend town money on something that I don't believe is our responsibility, I want to be 100% sure as best I can. And what would have done it for me would be a dye test to make sure, okay, I'm looking at the right thing now.
Right. The right lateral.
My-
Look, it is what it is.
And it could be
We
the only
did
thing out there,
work.
but I'm looking at the right thing.
It's not
We
repaired.
did the work, but see, I have an
The
issue
leak
with
was
the.
repaired, but the clog was not repaired.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and we're sending a bill, and yet still a situation there.
Right.
I have a problem with a bill when there's still a situation there.
There were two situations.
Two different
I
situations.
understand that, but basically, we may not have, it may be construed that we did a substandard repair because we didn't fix it, and when we knew there was another problem adjacent to where we fixed
No,
it.
wait a minute.
Like-
It's all happening in real
Yeah.
time, and we're giving them the information the day after.
But I'm saying we.
Go ahead, Darren.
I think we are in danger of setting a terrible precedent whereupon we have worked on a lateral and that's not our job. We shouldn't be working on lateral.
We
were forced to
solved
work on
public
this
health
lateral.
concern.
We did not want to work on this lateral. We did everything we could while we had the road open. There has to be a limit. I mean, the limit should have been, no, we're not working on this. We think it's a lateral. There's nothing wrong with our main, but we could not allow this situation to continue.
Well, that's because of public health.
Yes.
And I
That's
agree with
because
that.
the homeowners
Our
wouldn't-
reason for
Yeah.
acting was a public health concern, and our reason for doing what we did was a public health concern. It is still the residents' lateral, and it is still their responsibility.
And I think we did basically exploratory work for them to determine what was wrong with their
Yeah.
lateral right now.
Right.
That it was in fact
We spent town money to do
100%
that.
definitely their lateral causing it. We confirmed that without the dye test through much more expensive means. And we
they get the bill.
fixed the leak.
We did. Now we can even tell them where we think their issue is. So
Yes.
they're not digging this up, they're digging where the spot is.
Yeah.
And I hate to like make town council wealthy, but this is more of a litigation, less of a.
Well, if it gets that far, it gets
No,
that
no,
far.
it's already there. It's who's gonna pay for it, and people there's so many parties involved. Maybe asking him, who should we send the bill to and for how much? Wouldn't be a bad phone call. And then whatever, hey, are you comfortable with that? Do you think that's, I mean, it starts,
Well,
again, precedent.
His bill goes on the bill.
It doesn't matter. I think in this case, because it is so complex, you've got two things. You know, you've got their poor repair, unpermitted, to fix it, quickie, let's go get some Fernco's and some substandard pipe, and then you've got a block. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of
But the water
layers.
So
company
I-
has already,
Everyone's got skin in the game, but I think who you send the bill to and for how much
Matters.
because it sets not only a precedent, like you said.
I would send it all to the homeowner.
Because if it goes full litigation, maybe the homeowner has homeowner's insurance, and the homeowners is gonna
Yeah.
litigate against the water company. I don't know, it's so and you're an attorney, I'm not an attorney, but this one smells like doing the right thing with the right bill
Send it
to
to
the
the
right
water
person.
company
Yes,
and
Darren?
let them litigate.
Just so you know, we did offer that up as a potential solution in our face-to-face meeting in the field. He said, it looks to us like the water line is here and your sewer is here,
Yeah.
and this is where the problem is. Maybe your homeowner insurance would cover it, and they could subrogate against
Yeah.
Aquarian once they figured it
Let
out.
them deal with it. So
That's where-
that would be my favor, send the whole bill to one person, not start dealing with the two-front war.
Because now you're in the middle.
Yeah.
We were
But
told that we hadn't proved anything, and
I think one phone, it's complicated, dude.
Wait a minute, who told
It
you
is.
you haven't?
This
proved
is under the
anything?
road
owners.
or
Well,
not?
I'm sorry, they're gonna get the bill. They've been very not willing to work with anyone on this, and this is their sewage. They need to own. This is your sewage, you need to own your sewage, and the fact that your system isn't working, you have to do something about it. And Aquarian, when was the water line done? When was that work
5
done?
years ago.
5 years ago?
Oh, that's it?
2018.
I mean, they have lawyers, clearly already, they've told you they have lawyers. Let their lawyers go and try and recoup money from
It's
Aquarian after 5 years.
I see it as a legal question more than anything.
So is our,
But it's not our job to figure out what the legal,
If you're gonna send a bill, to sending it to the right person, starting the process is
Well,
important.
who should the bill be sent to? Is
I
the
think-
question for the
Should be the
attorney.
I mean,
Ground or in the
Well,
road?
he's saying it's a question for the
In the
attorney.
ground or in the
I
road?
disagree.
I say the homeowner, if I had to guess,
Oh.
but I'm not an
I'm saying
attorney.
the
you have a-
homeowner. I
Sinkhole in the
disagree with-
pavement side of the
So
road.
you have
was
a
wet.
picture of the road that there's been no patches since it was paved in
Yeah,
2018.
Aquarian didn't damage.
Yeah, there's a sinkhole right
Our
over our
stuff.
thing that I
sewer.
showed you.
What I'm
Aquarian
saying
damaged
is
their
you have
sewer.
And we help them.
You have proof,
Exactly.
you have a visible proof that the asphalt hasn't been touched in the last 5 years.
Yeah, there's
since when
no
it was
patch
paved.
there. Is that what you're saying? Nobody dug there.
Yes, that's what I'm
Since the
asking.
water-
So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to
That's correct.
put it more in a,
Now I understand your question.
in a,
That's correct.
so that if there was a patch there, they could come back and say something. But if there wasn't a patch there, it's like, someone was locked in a room and,
Just a sinkhole.
yes.
I think Craig really hit it in that they didn't damage any of our property, Aquarian, they damaged something on these people's property. So
But
why
the-
are we sending a bill to
But
Aquarian?
you could, I think,
Well,
in
I
Ed's
mean,
mind,
You can't insure what you don't own. Therefore, if they say, if they have, let's say, home insurance of some sort, right? That won't cover Aquarian. They won't get, in other words,
They'll
that
separate.
insurance doesn't cover damage. Well, it would cover damage that Aquarian did,
Yeah.
but still, it's their lateral.
But Peter, we regulate that lateral.
Pardon me?
We regulate that lateral.
If
Yeah,
if it
but
wasn't
it-
for the substandard repair done without a permit, we might not have been
Maybe.
out there.
I mean, when you
spending
put that lateral in, when that lateral went in originally, it had your blessing, right, so to speak?
Let's
So,
say
hold
that
on.
you-
Let me just,
Before our time.
let me cut to the chase, because I want to start moving this along. There are a number of actions that we could take. We could agree with the superintendent's request and send 50% of the bill to Aquarian and to the homeowner. We could entertain a motion along Reese's lines to ask the advice of town council as to who we should send the bill to and follow town council's advice. Or we could send the bill directly to one party or the other. So the question is, what do we do now?
I'd make a motion
Okay, what's your motion?
to what Reese said, ask the attorney, but I think it's gonna come back, go to the homeowner.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to send, to ask the town attorney to whom we should send the bill for our efforts to repair the public health concern?
Should then the bill be sent out without, before it comes back to the meeting?
Whatever, so again, with
Yeah.
amendment to the motion, that Ed is empowered to do whatever the town attorney suggests, unless he
Right.
feels the
Absolutely.
need to bring it back to us.
Yep.
Okay,
And that the consultation is part of the bill?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Good.
You can always ask. You can always ask.
Okay, so we have a motion
Right.
that says we're going to ask the town attorney who to send the bill to.
I'm nothing if not persistent.
With an amendment to the motion that says Ed is empowered to send it to whomever the town attorney suggests. And the second amendment to the motion is the town attorney's bill will be added to the bill. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
If somebody hasn't already seconded it.
The amended
The
motion. You will second the amended motion.
Yeah.
I second
Yeah.
the amended motion.
So Peter, Susan.
Wait a minute, I got Peter,
Peter?
Reese.
No, it's Peter,
Now
Susan.
Sue?
Peter,
Wait,
Susan.
we
Yeah,
changed it,
jumps
so-
me, goes to Susan. She gets
Second?
the-
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
she's the second on the full amended motion.
Now we go, no.
Any further discussion on the?
Very complicated. It's a lot of work for you guys. Well done.
All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Your report?
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
please-
Unanimous, 5-0.
5-0.
Please let us know once you know.
Yeah. It's a lot of digging.
I'm shocked.
Number 10,
There.
Superintendent's report.
You said that was 5 feet deep?
Yes.
And there was no trench bond?
Can't believe it. That's all it counts.
It was,
Just blows my mind.
yeah.
Okay.
I was not out in the field, so I will not confirm or deny the exact mention, but
Okay.
I may have been staggered. So, superintendent's report with item A. We did have our pre-con meeting last week, August 31st, after which notice to proceed was issued, contracts were issued, purchase orders now have been put in place, and we're looking to start in about 3 weeks. Okay?
How long did the contractor estimate it will take to complete the work?
365 days.
Wow.
That's the contract
Oh,
length.
okay.
They're hopeful that they can overlap a lot of the work with different firms that they're using, so that they can shorten that schedule.
So 1 day less than a year. It's a leap year.
That'd be less bond interest, right?
So, Darren, you have Woodway and Hoyt.
Woodway, I believe it was the last meeting, the sewer commission asked that we take the draft easement maintenance agreement, send it to town council. We did, have not heard back yet. We'll follow up with that.
Tabled.
Oh, and then your favorite one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get it?
wanna Do that one too?
Yes, please.
It's all done as far as we know. It's working. The commission asked that we send out photos of the tapping sleeve valve. We did.
Handsome.
You all
tapping
seemed
sleeve.
pleased
Yeah.
with.
Handsome.
Did you buy two? Because,
Now,
It's always good to have an extra.
it's a 2.5 inch, so they're very expensive.
isn't there one down the street that's gonna, or two more
That's gonna be a
houses?
3.
Oh,
The
it's
tapping
bigger.
sleeve and valve for a 3 inch is actually cheaper than a 2.5.
Standard.
The 2 is cheaper than a 3, but a 2.5 is more expensive than a 3, I guess, because it's an oddball size. So we already did reach out to that contractor. They have a plumber on site who seems to be very competent and extremely interested in doing the right thing. We're talking about 78, 79, so we have high hopes.
It went easily? It went fairly smoothly, the tapping in? Were you there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I went there and I left to go check another job, and I came back a half hour later and it was done.
Oh, okay.
And,
Because there was some concern.
But we did have somebody on site while we were doing it.
All the time. There was people there all the time, and then when we worked, we negotiated with our contractor to actually take the pipe to the property line to finish the job and give them the lateral to their property line as everybody else received for the cost of their assessment, so.
That's fine.
Good. That's good. Well, you guys were concerned, because you hadn't done it before, you weren't sure how it was gonna go. Was just generally
concerned.
asking. It looked like a very pretty picture.
Very concerned the pipe would break.
Right.
Concerned that if there was a leak, what do we do? It was a lot at risk, but the contractor who did the work, which, by the way, Reese recommended.
Which guy was it from? I'll check back.
Ferrelli.
Huh?
You told us to check with Ferrelli, and that company has done many of these, and on low pressure. Now, that was another concern of ours, because I've seen and done plenty of water taps, but it's a ductile iron pipe. It's not a thin PVC sewer pipe that's really vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And the consequences are obviously much greater, so that's
Good,
why we're afraid.
good. Over the learning.
We are very glad, too, that everything turned out well.
For the next superintendent's report at the next meeting, can I request that you add Stony Brook back in and give us an update from whatever information you get at this meeting?
I had nothing else to add at this point, so we just thought it was long enough
Understood?
that it could have gone to another page. You
Well,
don't wanna do that.
yeah, no, we wouldn't want a two-page agenda. We should have an administrative policy on that.
It's already been implemented.
I'm thinking it should be a regulation. Question. The email you sent out about the study for federal, did you have any information on what lines could be removed so we could have a better understanding of the final picture? The final cost? You were saying that there were lines that could be, basically the lines that could be credited is the way I always thought of it. To see what the final connection cost would be.
Yeah, so that was, that calculation was theoretical, right? Because they, of course, got all their approvals and permits before we had connection fees.
Yeah, no, totally
But
theoretical.
that would
just-
require the size of the
Water main.
the existing
The net-
water
the
service
net of the
connections that were
Adding up all those.
demolished.
Yes.
So, I don't know where those are. And I would be someone that might know.
No, I mean, because to me,
Many other
But I guess-
unless you know that, you really don't know.
Yeah, I guess you
Case
could-
studies, you know.
I guess you could ask Aquarian, for these addresses,
What were
what
the
used to
ones?
be the service connection size before they were abandoned? And we could get that information.
You'd have to get the service cards from.
Yeah,
Marion.
the
That's
historic
only way-
service
that's the only
cards
way
for
to do
the,
it.
yeah.
How many different properties?
It would have been
There's
three,
like
no, it would have been
seven.
no, it would have been three buildings. There was the dentist office in the front, there was the Walgreens Stop and Shop.
Wasn't there a list?
No, that was it, actually.
Was that new?
We could have Penny ask.
He's under the superintendent's report. I give
There
him-
wasn't anything
I give
with-
folks some latitude under the superintendent's
Yeah.
report to ask the superintendent questions.
Of course.
Well, it was an outstanding email.
Yes,
I wasn't,
I'm not questioning you at all.
You're not violating any policy or regulation.
We don't need no stinking policy.
So Bob's giving Ed a follow-up question. Anything else for the superintendent? Okay. Any new business? You ready for the egg fight? All right, Peter, it's you.
Make a motion. We adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right, well done.
Meeting is adjourned, Channel 79. Thank you very much.
Get this ready.